The spring before our second summer in this house, I had my second stay at the retreat at Shepherd Pratt in Towson, Maryland, a psychiatric hospital, and I'd had my second regimen of ECT. And my last day there, the psychiatrist said to me, "Anne, your job this summer is to go to your beach house on the Outer Banks and have a good time, to enjoy it. That's your job." And I know people who aren't depressed or have never suffered with depression or even watched people who suffer with depression could easily think, "Oh, that's a really tough job. You've got to go to your beach house and have a good time." But when you're depressed, it's just you have this heavy weight on you and everything is just difficult. And even now, here I am today. I've worked out, I've had a pretty good day, and things have more or less been going well for me. And it's hard for me to really remember what it felt like in those really, really hard days. But I was reminded of it last week. My husband Andy's had 3 unrelated surgeries in 3 months, and after each one, he bounced right back. An ablation, a back surgery, and then the last one, he had a speck of cancer removed from his lung. And I will tell you, he had the lung cancer surgery on a Monday, and Tuesday evening at 5 o'clock, I was in my kitchen with the dog trainer for Wendell, and Andy just walked in. He had taken a cab and brought himself home. He was just doing great, but then a couple of days after that, he just pretty much collapsed. I mean, nothing horrible, we know now in retrospect, but I think his body was just so worn out. My rock was now my pebbles, and he was just in bed all day. At 9 o'clock, he'd get out of bed, and then at 10 o'clock, he'd say, "I'm going back to bed." And one day last week, he was just sitting in a chair in our hall. His eyes were barely open. He was wearing a stocking cap, and I said to him, "Andy, do you think you're depressed?" And he just kind of looked at me. And in that moment, I tried to imagine what it had been like all these years where he had been living with me like that. I mean, it was just to see him like that was, not that this is about me, and he and I always joke, like, enough about you, let's talk about me. But you just can't imagine what it's like to suffer with depression or to watch someone you love suffer with depression. I think unless you've really been there, and it's easy to forget. And I say this only because when that doctor said to me, "Anne, you've got to go and your job is to enjoy your summer," and he knew if he just said, "Go have a good time," but if he made it my job, I have trouble relaxing, I have trouble unwinding, but if he made that my job, maybe that would give me a different way to focus on it. And I just want to say, don't judge people unless you've been there, maybe, because it's just really hard to imagine unless you've been there. And even then, it's hard for me to imagine it when I have a little bit of distance from it, although every morning I do experience it. Thanks.